This is Ranee B bringing you that homicidal tea. And today we're bringing you the case of Michella Welch. And she was a 12-year-old girl that was abducted in 1986 in Tacoma, Washington. And the way that they came about finding her perpetrator is really interesting and just goes to, once again, prove to you that once you sip a little of that homicidal tea, it's going to catch up to you one way or the other. So let's just get into it. On March 26, 1986, 12-year-old Michella Welch had taken her two sisters, and there were two younger sisters, to Puget Park in Tacoma, Washington. And it was about 10 a.m. in the morning. They rode her bicycle there and they hung out and had fun, but since she rode her bike home at about 11 a.m. to make lunch and take them back something to eat. And when she came back, she chained her bike next to her sister's and set everything up for lunch on the picnic table right there. She went looking for her sisters, and she didn't know that they had ran next door to a business to use the restroom. At around 1:15, Michella's sisters did not see her when they returned to the park, so they went to play near a cave under a bridge for about another half an hour. When the sisters returned to the park, they found a brown paper bag in the table and their lunches on the table, but Michella was nowhere to be found, so they began looking for her, but the babysitter called them back home. At about 3:10 p.m., police arrived at the park and began searching for Michella, and around 11 p.m., a tracking dog found her body at a part of the gulch where people would make fire pits. She'd been beaten horrifically and indecently assaulted. They were able to get forensic material from the perpetrator that was left in Michella's crime scene, but it never really helped them at this point. As far as the cause of death, there was a gruesome knife injury to her neck which proved fatal. After Michella Welch's homicide, another little girl in Tacoma, Jennifer Bastian. Now, this one was a lot more famous and covered more nationally. I mean, I remember this whenever I was a little kid, and I was in Texas. So I remember Jennifer Bastian's, but I don't remember Michella Welch's case. But she was murdered a few months later. It was like the same MO, everything. And that at this time was when a 6-person task force was formed. In 1986, these cases were investigated for more than 10,000 hours, and thousands of leads were investigated, but no one was connected to any of these murders. They were sure that the same perpetrator committed these two horrible acts because they had DNA from Michella, but not from Jenny. There was not a presence of DNA on her body and none on her clothes either. See, Jenny was wearing a swimsuit, so and it was partially removed, so they figured that any DNA that could have been gotten may have either been overlooked or just not recovered properly. Now remember, this is 1986. OJ had not happened yet. That is the case that taught us everything about proper forensic collections, chains of custody, all that kind of stuff. So since Welch and Bastian cases are very close in modalities and victimology, they had a lot of other similarities too. So investigators believed for a long time that these two were committed by the same person. But just like that Jessica Dishon case that I did previously, if you remember back to that one, there was this one detective, oh my God, Lynn Hunt, who changed everything. She would not take no for an answer, and she took the investigation to the next level. There were two of those incredible detectives on this case, Detective Gene Miller and Detective Lindsay Wade. Now, this is one of the many reasons that I get sucked into these cases, is the detectives, and they become woven into the fabric of the story, and they're not just a player or an officer in the story, but it's like almost they're a medium or a vessel that the victims use to speak. And it's almost sometimes like these victims are punching a hole through dimensions and connecting themselves to these detectives and leading them to what they need to find in order for them to right the injustices that were caused unto them. Okay. Before I start getting more metaphysical, let's just get back to the case. Well, this case went absolutely cold. The detectives came and went. Some transferred, some got promoted, some retired. And years went by and no one forgot. But new cases kept coming, and the efforts that they were dedicating to those cases had to be focused elsewhere. And both cases went ice cold. Now think about this. This case was in 1986. Okay, let's just fast forward to a couple years, 1990. The #1 song on the pop chart was Hold On by Wilson Phillips. If you don't know that one, maybe you remember It Must Have Been Love by Roxette. That's how long ago this was. But then let's kick it up another 5 years. Gangster's Paradise, Coolio, TLC, Waterfalls, or Creep. Those were also big in 1995. Let's keep going further. 2000. What a Girl Wants, Christina Aguilera. You can remember these times. Bye, 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 NSYNC. Oops, I Did It Again. Those were all jams in 2000. So now think back. Roxette. Britney Spears. That's a long time. We're not done yet. Think We Belong Together. That's 2005. Maybe some Holla Back Girl. Since You Be Gone by Kelly Clarkson. Yeah, those are all 2005. Tick Tock on the Clock. That's Kesha. That's 2010. Still nothing. California Girls by Katy Perry. Now imagine singing I Want to Dance with Somebody. That's like crazy retro. That was brand new at the beginning of this case. And then by the time that anybody even got any more motion on this case, Bad Romance was on the top of the charts by Lady Gaga. That just is illustrating how long it took for science to catch up. Now think back of that. Now, remember that song The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston? Or, wait, Girl, You Know It's True, Milli Vanilli. That is all the way to Just Dance by Lady Gaga. Rolling in the Deep. I know I'm going crazy with these songs, but I'm truly trying to get into your psyche to really show you how long it took. So let that sink in. That's how long these families had to wait for science to catch up. But in 2011, Detective Gene Miller started a cold case unit in Tacoma, Washington. Always looking for the right kind of detectives to join the unit. He was impressed with a gritty, tough narcotics detective charging through the ranks with this delicate little feminine side too. She had just enough women's intuition to trust her gut, but also had enough tough pit bull mentality to take on these grisly cases without falling apart. Now in 2013, Detective Wade joined his task force, and together they created a list of 2,300 possible suspects. Their theory was that this person had to have previously had some sort of sex crime conviction. Therefore, they had to also be in CODIS, and we love CODIS. They revisited evidence from both cases and found that semen had been found in Michella's body that was still able to be tested. But when technology had caught up and it was submitted, it matched nothing in the FBI database. No DNA had been found on Jennifer Bastian at the time, but they still had that swimsuit and evidence that she'd been wearing. So on a wing and a prayer, they sent it in for testing, and semen was found. Usable DNA was also present. In 2013, a full male profile was generated. When they compared it to the DNA from Jenny's swimsuit, to the DNA to Michella's death, it was different. That threw everyone off balance. For almost 30 years, they had been searching for one person who they believed had killed both Michella and Jenny. But that was wrong. There wasn't one killer. There were two. From this point on, I'll focus on Michella's case, and the next upload will be a continuation focusing on Jenny Bastian. But in May of 2016, again, for reference, popular songs, How Will I Know, Whitney Houston, and Rock Me Amadeus were at the beginning of this case, and all the way to Adele, Hello, and Justin Bieber, I can't sing, sorry. Justin Bieber was born after this case even happened. Michella, her children would be fans of Justin Bieber. That's how long it took. So when you think of it that way, it is mind-blowing. But anyway, it was May in 2016 that Parabon delivered snapshot phenotype reports to the members of this task force. Now, the DNA showed that although both men were Caucasian, trait predictions suggested that they have notable phenotypic differences. The suspect in Michella Welch's case, he was predicted most likely to have fair skin, brown eyes, and brown hair. With all this information, you think that they would have gotten somewhere, right? No. Still, CODIS was silent. This guy was still off the radar. But in May of 2018, Tacoma police detectives gave approval for Parabon Nanolabs for DNA data from Michella Welch's killer to be uploaded to GED Match, a public genetic genealogy website that allows searches of this type. But by using these gene matching technology that's found in GED Match, the suspect's possible common ancestry, and then using the amount of DNA shared and snapshot ancestry to predict possible offspring, the genetic pedigree identified two suspects in a family tree. Gary Hartman and his brother. We'll leave his name out of it for privacy purposes. When Welch was murdered, they were both living in Tacoma, Washington. They were both placed under surveillance. Detectives eventually followed Gary Hartman to a restaurant where they got a napkin that he used and threw away. Traditional STR analysis showed that the DNA on that napkin matched the DNA found at the crime scene, and that was enough probable cause for them to arrest Hartman. According to reports, Hartman worked as a community nurse at Western State Hospital and had no criminal record. Totally did not fit that typical profile of a child murderer and pedophile. But who's to say that he didn't just hide the other ones better and get away with it? I mean, I don't believe someone stops after this. They just hone their skills. Well, I wasn't kidding when I said these were shorts, because this one's already at an end. Right now that Gary is waiting, and from all that I've gathered online, Gary's still awaiting trial, and give me a break. It's going to be an easy open and shut case. You can't deny DNA. You just can't. So what do you guys think about this one? Isn't that crazy? Have you ever even heard of this one? I never have. So weird. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I love making these shorts so much better than the other makeup ones because, like I said, the ADD goes crazy. So this is so much easier, and I feel like that I'm a lot more intimate with y'all. Was that weird to say on a video site? Maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, wow, that could get a lot of interest. Maybe I'll get some more followers. Just kidding. Stop fucking lying. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, click here. If you want to see more shorts, click here. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.